haven't been asked this for a while, but it just came up the other day when I was on the phone with a client. It's a new listing that I'm taking out in Helotes. And the question was, what do you think about having a home inspection done? Now, this question was from the seller, not from a buyer. Buyers, I always recommend a home inspection. Sellers, there's pros and cons to that. If you go and you ask, 10 agents, you'll probably get 10 different answers on this, but I'm going to give you my take on it. Potentially, less unknowns are going to come up during the option period. Now, it's real estate, and so, we can't predict the future. I got out of that business when COVID happened. I will say that having a home inspection really depends, for me, and the advice that I give, on the seller and on the house. If you're someone who's nervous and you're thinking, gosh, I don't want to be blindsided during the purchasing process with a buyer, then, maybe a home inspection is the right thing to do. You can address the things that come up. If you have a house where maybe you haven't lived in it that long, or even better, you're very confident that everything is in very, very good working order and you just want to have that extra layer of assurance available to the buyers, then that's great. Go ahead and get a home inspection. Now, the cons for sellers, and this is the big one, and you guys can probably figure this out on your own, but you may find out things you don't want to know. And once you know them, they have to be disclosed. There's no way around it. So if there are questions in your mind about the house, or if you are at all worried that you're going to find out something that, just no, then you're still kind of rolling the dice, because that buyer is still going to have the home inspection and it's all going to be found out anyway. And now, instead of dealing with it up front, now you're having to react. In reacting, what's happening is the buyer may be coming in and saying, well, I think this repair, Mr. Seller, is worth $50,000. And you say, no, this is not a $50,000 repair. It's a $15,000 repair. Well, at that point, who's right? If we get the home inspection, we identify the issues that need to be addressed. We go out and we secure 2 or 3 bids from general contractors or the specialty trade that applies to the situation. And we have those estimates on file. Even if you as the seller do not choose to address the issue in that moment, having those estimates on hand gives you leverage, because now you can say, yes, and the $15,000 has already been addressed in the sales price. We've reduced to compensate a buyer for what we know is an issue. If it were left up to me, in most cases, I would err to the side of having an initial home inspection done. That way, it's disclosed, it's one less thing for the buyer to worry and think about, and I really feel like it puts the leverage back in your court. So, how much does a typical home inspection cost? Oh gosh, that's not a fair question, but I can tell you that in my experience, I am seeing many of the buyers paying somewhere between $600 and $800 for the home inspection. An additional consideration is if you've got a pool, a well, or a septic. If you've got those 3 things, sometimes the general home inspection will cover those, or that inspector feels comfortable and confident in doing those inspections. Sometimes they don't. And so in those instances, you are bringing in additional professionals. If you're my buyer and I'm working to help you craft the offer that you're making, we are going to talk about how long the option period is. In some states, it's referred to as the due diligence period. And for the more complicated purchases where there are multiple professionals that the buyer wants to bring in for the inspection, we will go ahead and make the option period longer. Do I always get my way when I ask for longer option periods to make provision for additional inspections? No. No, some sellers are very adamant. They don't want to make the house available for more than a set amount of time that they and their agent have spoken about. But here's the thing. If you don't have a buyer's agent that's actually advocating for you, bringing these issues and these thoughts to your attention, you wouldn't know how long to ask for. You might just ask for 5 days or 7 days, when really you got a pool, you got a septic system, you got a well, plus the general home inspection. You should probably be somewhere between 7 and 10 days for that option period. And if there's a holiday or a weekend built into that, that's also something to take into consideration. So would love to help you. We've got a lot of experience. Stephen and I love working with buyers. I do mostly listings, but those are my 2 cents on home inspections, and I hope that you find this helpful.